Hello everyone, my name is Patrick Malone and I'm a researcher at the LGMA, and you're very welcome to this workshop today on the NOAC 2020 Performance Indicators. Just by way of an outline to today's presentation, I'd like to first of all begin with giving you an overview of the timeline and key dates involved in the National Performance Indicator process for 2020. Following that, then, I'd like to highlight some of the key roles and responsibilities of local authority personnel who will be directly involved in the data collection process for the NOAC Performance Indicators 2020. For those of us who are new to the performance indicator process and LGReturns system, I'd like just to give you an overview of the LGReturns website and to perhaps give you an opportunity to familiarise yourselves with the interface that is LGReturns, and also give you some useful tips to use that might be of help to you in that process. And then towards the latter part of the presentation, then I'd like to talk about the calculated fields and external data sets and what's involved there with regards to data input, and also talk to you about the data verification and report publication processes. And by way of conclusion then to today's presentation, I'd like to just talk to you about the next steps and give you an overall summary of what was discussed in the presentation. In terms of the timeline for the 2020 performance indicator process and the key dates involved, the performance indicator guidelines were issued by NOAC on the 3rd of February. The date in which the LGReturns system will be going live for data input has yet to be confirmed, but we will be letting you know in the coming weeks when the system does go live. The closing date for the final submission of data on the LGReturns system has been set at the 30th of April. And following that closing date, then NOAC begin the process of data review and verification during late spring and summer of this year. The final component in this process then is the publication of the NOAC Performance Indicator Report, and that is due to take place in September of 2021. During this data collection or data gathering process, the data coordinator of each local authority plays a very pivotal role. Firstly, they oversee and coordinate the collection and return of accurate performance indicator data. That is, they efficiently coordinate the data collection process and ensure that the data inputted on LGReturns accurately reflects the activities of their local authorities in the areas covered by the performance indicator. Secondly, they sign off on final performance indicator data and ensure that quality control is upheld. They also have a key role in ensuring that external data sets, which we will be discussing in more detail later on in our presentation, are signed off and again accurately reflect the activities of their local authorities in the areas that the external data is collected. And finally, they act as a point of contact for all queries from NOAC and the LGMA, whether that is in relation to audit queries or in relation to data input queries and so on. So in sum, the role of the data coordinator ensures that the management team of the local authority, that being the chief executives and the directors of services, are signing off data that is accurate and that the deadlines set out by NOAC are being met in respect to the submission of data on the LGReturns system. In terms of the local authority performance indicator guidelines that were published on February 3rd, just gone, to report on local authority 2020 activity, it's very important that the data coordinators of each local authority circulate the guidelines internally and notify topic insurers and approvers that the guidelines are now available. It is also important to note that there have been changes to existing indicators and in some cases additions to indicators when compared to the 2019 guidelines. So it's very important that the 2020 guidelines are read clearly and are understood correctly for the purposes of entering data and approving data across each local authority. In the LGReturns system, there are 5 main user groups, which are outlined on this slide. A user group is the term that is used to outline the different roles that are involved in the process of completing the returns. Each of these roles have different responsibilities and levels of access to the LGReturns system. First, we have the organization administrator, followed by the returns administrator, topic coordinator, topic approver, topic enterer, and topic viewer. One very important aspect of completing the returns process is to ensure that internal controls are in place in the local authority so that the data is checked at least twice. And having this structure, as you can see from this slide, ensures that this process is supported and that the data collected is accurately reflective of the activities within each local authority and has been checked appropriately. Some of these roles are self-explanatory titles. However, it's important to be familiar with the various roles and responsibilities attached to these user groups. And I'll now go on to giving you an overview of the main responsibilities and that are attributed to each of these user groups. So just to give you an overview of the main roles and responsibilities attributed to each of the user groups. First, we have the organization administrator, and this person is the master user for the organization and has full access to all areas of the LGReturns system as it relates to the performance indicators. The organization administrator is responsible for ensuring that everyone is set up with the appropriate level of access to the LGReturns system. They need to have, firstly, a clear idea of who will be responsible for each aspect of the data input, approval, and audit process within their local authorities. In preparation for the 2020 indicators, it is important that organisation administrators review all of its existing users and make sure that all staff who need access to the LGReturns system have an account set up. Next, we have the returns administrator. And like the organisation administrator, this person has full access to the 11 topic areas and assigns access to each of the 11 topic areas to users. The term topic areas refers to the indicators sections, which we'll be discussing in more detail later on in the presentation. Next, we have the topic coordinator, topic approver, and topic enterer. The topic coordinator reviews any audit queries and makes adjustments as required. The topic approver and topic enterer are very self-explanatory in that the topic approver simply approves topics and can reopen topics if necessary, while the topic enterer enters the appropriate data. In returning to the 2020 Performance Indicator Guidelines again, it is very important that the topic enterer is familiar with the guidelines so that they can ensure that the data is being entered correctly on the LGReturns system. Similarly, the topic approver must be familiar with the guidelines also so that they can approve that the data entered is correct and that it has been entered correctly. At the overall level, the data coordinator must ensure that the topic enterers and approvers in their local authorities have received the guidelines and have read and understood them correctly. I would now like to provide an overview of the LGReturns website. LGReturns is the system that is used for the collection of performance indicator data. It was developed by the Department of Housing, Local Government and Heritage and the LGMA to support local authorities in the entry and processing of data entry returns. The core purpose of the LGReturns system is to provide data validation and exchange between government sectors, local authorities and government agencies, and is used for a range of departmental returns including performance management and housing statistics. Many of us here today are already familiar with the LGReturns system and process, having used it last year. But for our new users, I've included this screenshot here on this slide, just to show you the website and to give you a feel of how it looks and feels. On the top left-hand corner of your screen, you have the Returns tab. Here you can see a sample of the data that is inputted from the housing sector. When you click on the Performance Indicator tab, this brings you to all of the performance indicator data that has been inputted into LGReturns from 2015 to 2019. If we select the most recent data being 2019 by clicking on the little pie chart icon there, this will bring us to a new window where you are given a range of reporting options, such as making an audit query, undertaking a returns comparison or cross-reference, checking topic response status, among other options. For our new users, you will be happy to know that this system is very user-friendly. When using LGReturns, there's a clear presentation of the data input form, which is broken down into each topic area, such as housing, planning, corporate, etc., and then by the different performance indicators within that indicator. For those of you who are engaging with LGReturns for the first time, my colleague Chelsea Arton and I have developed a training module covering various different aspects of the LGReturns process, which we will be circulating to you all in the coming week. And feel free to pass that on to your own colleagues in your local authorities who are also engaged with the LGReturns system. Something that would be of great help to you in this process of setting up the LGReturns for 2020 and any other queries that you may have in relation to LGReturns is the help guide. The help guide contains a number of different useful sources of information. For instance, when you're getting started on the LGReturn system, as you can see from this slide, it shows you how to grant permissions and how to check permissions, I should say, in relation to the different user groups. It also can show you how to generate returns and reports in respect to LGReturns and all other mannerisms that you may be interested in respect to the data input and data reporting process in the area of LGReturns. One useful element of the LGReturns help guide is its directions or guidelines under the Returns tab highlighted in red there. And in this tab, it provides information on how to open a topic, enter, save, and validate a topic, download to PDF, approve or refuse a topic, editing an approved topic if you have to edit it after it is returned, complete the return process, and generate reports or audits based on the data entered on the LGReturns system. So that's just one of many different tabs or sources of information on the LGReturns system and how it might help you address any issues or problems that you may have while entering the data on LGReturns for the 2020 performance indicator data collection. Next, I'd like to move on to a very, very important aspect of the LGReturns system, which you will encounter when you start inputting the data, and that is the calculation fields. And throughout the process of inputting data or entering data, you will see a number of these fields across the different indicators. It's important to keep in mind that local authorities do not have to input data to the calculated fields, which is the blue box symbol that you can see on your screen there. And this is very, very important. So the whole purpose here is that you only have to save, calculate, and validate in respect to these fields. You don't insert data. You just save, calculate, and validate in that sense. So in this example we have here, it relates to the F1 fire services indicator, cost per capita of the fire service. So F1A, the annual financial statement program E expenditure data for 2017 divided by the population of the local authority area per the 2016 census figures for the population served by the fire authority as per the risk-based approach phase 1 approach. So that's a calculation that the system makes or generates in the background. AFS Program E expenditure data of E11 operating of fire services and E12 fire prevention inclusive of the relevant Program E proportion of the central management charge for 2017. And that uh, again is calculated and you don't have to input the data in that regard. So it's very important that the central role here is not to input data, but rather to save, calculate, and validate the data, essentially. So now we move on to the external data sets component of the LGReturns system and data entry process. While local authorities provide a significant share of the data required by each of the sub-indicators or indicators, external bodies are also relied upon to provide supplementary data. In the area of housing, in particular the sub-indicator H5, private rented sector inspections, the Residential Tenancies Board and Department of Housing, Local Government and Heritage provide the external data, supplementary external data required for this H5 indicator. In the area of roads, the data for R1, pavement surface condition index, and R2, roadworks, is provided by the Road Management Office, while the data for R3, percentage of motor tax transaction conducted online, is provided by the Department of Transport. In the sub-indicators related to water, the sub-indicator W1, percentage of drinking water in private schemes that are in compliance with statutory requirements, that data is obtained from the Environmental Protection Agency. Now, it's not likely that the data will be made available until after the LGReturns system is closed on the 30th of April. However, dummy data will be uploaded until the data becomes more available. It's important to note that with these three sub-indicators, the upload date is yet to be confirmed. These external data sets are usually uploaded by the middle of the year, certainly. In the area of waste or environment, in respect to that overarching indicator, the data for E1, number or percentage of households availing of a 3-bin service, that data is provided by the National Waste Collection Permit Office. In relation to the sub-indicator E3, the percentage of local authority area within the 5 levels of litter pollution, that data is provided by Tobin Consultants. And it's not likely that that data will be provided until after the LGReturns closing date of the 30th of April. But prior to that, dummy data will be uploaded for that E3 sub-indicator. In relation to the sub-indicator E4, percentage of schools that currently hold and have renewed their green flag status on TASCA, the National Trust for Ireland provide that data. With regards to sub-indicator E5, cumulative percentage of energy savings achieved by the 31st of the 12th, 2020 or year end relative to the baseline year 2009, that data is provided by the Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland. And finally, in relation to the new sub-indicator E6, public lighting, which is looking for data in relation to the total billage wattage of the public lighting system, average billage wattage of the public lighting system, and the percentage of the total system that LED lights represent. All of that data is provided by the Road Management Office. The date for this sub-indicator or the upload date for this for these indicators are yet to be confirmed. In relation to the corporate indicator, the sub-indicator C1, the number of whole-time equivalent staff across the local authority sector. That data is provided by the Department of Housing, Local Government and Heritage, and the upload date is yet to be confirmed. Under the Economic Development Indicator, the sub-indicators J1, number of jobs created, J2, trading online vouchers, and J3, number of mentoring recipients. All of that data requested by these sub-indicators is provided by Enterprise Ireland, and the upload date for this indicator is yet to be confirmed. The final external dataset is for the finance indicator, and in particular the sub-indicator M3, public liability claims. This is a new performance indicator that has been introduced this year, and the data for this new indicator is provided by IPB Insurances. As with the other indicators, the upload date onto LGReturns is yet to be confirmed, but usually all of the external data sets are on the LGReturn system before the middle of the year. Here I provide an example of an external data set which is used on LGReturns for the performance indicators. And this indicator relates to an external data set that supports the sub-indicator for roads R3 in relation to motor tax. And the data itself is provided by the Department of Transport. So you can see from the screenshots here, the role of the local authority in this instance is simply just to save, calculate and validate. And the data itself is not editable. It's only for validation and approval. But that being said, the data presented and the way that it's presented gives local authorities the opportunity to catch out any areas where there might be errors or inconsistencies in the data presented before verification. So it gives the opportunity for local authorities to align with their knowledge of how a particular sub-indicator in the area of housing, waste or environment is being reflected in the external data set, and whether that data accurately reflects the activities captured under those sub-indicators. So this brings us now towards the conclusion of our presentation, and the question now is what happens after the 30th of April 2021 when the LGReturn system is closed and all the data has been uploaded and submitted by each of the 31 local authorities. Well, firstly, as I mentioned from the outset, there's a data verification process gets underway. And here, the whole purpose is to spot and correct errors using audit processes within the LGReturn system. The NOAC Secretariat then communicates with local authorities in instances where there's a need for clarification, verification, or there may be an open audit query in relation to the data inputted. Following that data verification process undertaken by NOAC, there comes a report which is published in September 2021. And this report is very important because it provides the context in which services are delivered across the local government sector in Ireland. It critically analyses and reports on data and trends that are captured in each of the 11 topic areas or indicator areas. And it highlights potential reasons why there are such performance variations across the local authority sector. And finally, and more importantly, it showcases where the sector is performing well based on trends over the last 5 years and year-on-year comparisons in respect to the indicators. On the part of the LGMA, in the coming month, we will be publishing a trend analysis of sectoral and individual local authority performance from 2014 to 2019, which covers a 6-year period across all comparable indicators since 2014. In terms of the next steps after we conclude our workshop today. I think it would be very useful for everyone to access the LGReturns system and to check that your logins are still working. I think it's very important as well that you check your users. Are your organization administrator or return administrator, are they in place within the LGReturns system? In terms of the data, it would be very useful as well to have a look at the 2019 data and to use the reports function to compare or check the 29 data with the 2020 data. And this will be very helpful in terms of avoiding incorrect data entry. Engagement with the topic enterers and topic approvers is also very important in terms of making them aware of the guidelines published by NOAC on the 3rd of February and the deadline for the final submission of data on the LGReturns website on the 30th of April 2021. If you have any further questions or queries, feel free to contact indicators@lgma.ie for any questions you may have on the management of the data collection process. And if you have any questions around performance indicator methodology or quality and assurance and analysis or the drafting of the report, feel free to contact info@noac.ie. Thank you very much for listening, and I wish you the very best of luck in this year's 2020 performance indicator data collection. Thank you and goodbye.